We begin with breaking news out of North Idaho.
Just a moment ago, Moscow police confirmed 4 people were found dead in a home.
Xana Kernodle. Ethan Chapin. Madison Mogan. So Haley Gonçalves. They shared everything. They came here together. They eventually get into the same apartment together. And in the end, they died together.
The other, let me get the names exactly right here. We know that Xana and Ethan were at a different party on campus.
On September 12th, there was a vandal alert that was sent out about a potential stabbing threat on Paradise Path. Does this have any connection with what we've seen so far?
Not that we know of it, but we're following everything.
Roommates who lived at that residence, were the roommates home at the time of the attack?
There was other people home at that time, but we're not just focusing just on them, we're focusing on everybody that may be coming and going from that residence.
So since they were home, was it a hostage situation? And then did...
No, it was not.
They didn't call it into police, and then were they injured? They didn't call it into police, so were they injured?
No one that we're not going to talk to, there's no one we're not going to interview, there's no one that we're not going to look into, and we're going to do our due diligence. We're going to make sure that nothing goes unturned.
I know you said when the call came in, it was for an unconscious person, and also that was a stabbing. It seems, just from an outside perspective looking in, like that would be not the first thing a person calling in would think.
You're right, but the report that we got was that it was an unconscious individual. It wasn't until our officers arrived on scene, went in to do caregiving check on the individual who was unconscious, that we found the scene that we found.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Heather Roberts with ABC News. Just to follow up on what she asked, so the other 2 roommates were there at the time of the attack?
All the information that we have from our investigation is that yes, they were.
Okay, but they were unhurt.
That is correct.
So is there any explanation as to why it took so long then for someone to call 911? You have surviving witnesses to an incident at 3 or 4 in the morning, and the 911 call didn't come until noon?
I don't think I ever said that they were witnesses. I said they were there. So, you know, we don't know why that call came in at noon and not in the middle of the night. Would have we loved for that to have happened? Yes, but that's not how it took place. So that's why we're investigating everything still, to try to pull all the pieces together.
Were they one of the people, were they the 911 caller?
At this point in time, I'm not going to divulge who our 911 caller is, just because I want to keep the integrity of the investigation at this point, okay?
Okay, and last question.
All right, so revealing the 911 caller, revealing that 911 caller would jeopardize the investigation according to Fry, or so he states right there. The stabbing was originally used, which is confirmed in this dialogue between Fry and the inside reporter, as Fry does not correct her. Instead, he actually says, "You are correct." And then Fry tries to explain that it was a sequence of events, which was a report of an unconscious person that led to the discovery of the scene. So who started the rumor that would be spoke by Christy Gonçalves? My niece called around 1:30 p.m. and said, "Had you talked to Kaylee? Something bad happened to Kaylee."
And my niece called me and she was freaking out and she said, "Christy, have you talked to Kaylee?" And I said, "Yesterday, like last night." And she said, "Something bad happened. Something bad happened."
Rose family says they want to do anything they can to help the investigation, but believe investigators could be missing the mark.
Imagine if you're a parent and you have pertinent information to this, like that dog, and you're asking me to just shut up. It's not going to happen. I'm going to find a microphone and I'm going to talk to it and I'm going to tell people this is important. Whether it helps solve the case or not, how can you eat that? How could you suppress that? It's something you know could help your child and help everyone in that house find justice. But you can't force them to ask you the question.
Christy Gonzalez speaks about what she believes happened in the early morning hours of November 13th.
And went in very methodical. I think he really thought it out. I think he was quick. I think it was quiet, and he got in, and he got out.
Welcome to the transparency. If you guys have not been following me from the jump, you have a lot to catch up on. You heard it. Ann Taylor, her team, they believe in the innocence of their client, Brian Kohlberger. But why? They're just supposed to defend him, right? His rights. Well, let's take a look at something else.
How he got out, which direction he came from, or how he escaped. There are only so many scenarios, and tonight we're going to give you an exclusive look. First, our senior national correspondent, Brian Enton, retracing the route that the killer would have to have taken if he drove that night to 1122 King Road.
You can see houses on both sides of the street again. There's media out here now, but again, normally the neighbors tell me there's a lot of people walking around, not necessarily a lot of cars. You look to the right here, this is the house where the murders happened.
Explain all the things that they did.
Yeah, they Ubered out together. They only went to known locations that they had been before.
Private driver.
They had a private driver. Yeah, I apologize. There was a private driver that they had actually used before, so they knew him. They had a relationship with this individual.
We knew him as a family member, and he really helped us.
Yeah.
He turned us on to food truck stuff.
Yeah.
He's a great person.
Good people. And then we only went to like known locations with known people, traveled only together on well-lit, known streets.
Okay, right there. He's the one that turned us on to the food truck. I thought that was Jack D who turned them onto the food truck. I thought it was, who is this private driver? I thought Jack D, food truck. I thought now he's the one that turned them on to the food truck. Maybe he's the one that turned them on to, I picked them up from the food truck. Then Jack D was like, oh, wow, they have a Twitch that's running, I want to know 1:56 a.m. comes from what? And I believe it comes from a Life 360 app. I don't think it is from any video surveillance. I think that when this guy was to, like anybody else, look at their phone, go into their app to see when they would be driving around, it tells you where you were, how long it took you to get from this point to that point to this point to that point. And there's no camera footage, but you could at least tell somebody, well, I picked them up from the grub truck at this time because then my car went and dropped them off at this time, and this is the time that it was. So because in the PCA, it does not use that we saw that car on any of the footage. The private driver is the one that gave them the 1:56 timestamp. I believe that is coming from a GPS device on his phone that he uses in some family app, like a 360 Life 360.
To get food before taking a private ride from the same individual who would pick them up home to go eat after a night of drinking, being 21, Ubering out, Ubering home with your friend,
We were totally shot.
and then going to bed.
They were doing everything the way
They were,
and we're going to do our due diligence.
they were totally chaperoned. I mean, that's an interesting statement to say there. I don't know why they would be totally chaperoned. If he's just referring to the private driver as their chaperone in terms of getting them to the places and getting them home, that type of a chaperone. But when you think of chaperone, you think of somebody at your prom when your parents are asked to chaperone the dance. Okay. So there's parent chaperones at the dance. You wouldn't think that you have a parent chaperone driving you to the dance. They're physically there. So Steve G most certainly does say they had a chaperone. And again, I would just want that clarified that I think he's referring to the chaperoning of driving them and picking them up, but that is not what the definition of a chaperone is. So
You're going to get stoned out.
Yeah. I feel like.
Now I want you guys to remember that this interview was recorded and done right literally before the arrest of Bryan Kohberger. That's when this happened. So the people that were in town that did this, video, they were physically there in Idaho doing this documentary style episode. And they were there. This doesn't come out until a couple weeks after Bryan Kohberger was like arrested by all the edits and everything like that.
America is being.
Explain all the things that they did.
Yeah, they Ubered out together. They only went to known locations that they had been before.
Private driver.
They had a private driver. I apologize. There was a private driver that they had actually used before, so they knew him. They had a relationship with this individual.
We knew him as a family member, and he really helped us.
Yeah.
He turned us on to food truck stuff.
Yeah.
He's a great person.
Good people. And then we only went to like known locations with known people, traveled only together on well-lit, known streets to get food before taking a private ride from the same individual who would pick them up home to go eat after a night of drinking, being 21, Ubering out, Ubering home with your friend.
And we're totally
and then going to bed.
And we're doing everything the way that you tell your kid to go. You know, don't be two girls all by yourself. Have somebody there that can walk with you. Everything was perfect. Everything was good.
Yeah.
All the way up to where they went to bed and went to sleep.
Yeah.
And that I can't control. As a family, we can't control what happens when you go to sleep.
Yeah.
When you go to sleep, that's us as society. We have to determine, are we gonna let these people be out here that can do whatever they did, sneak into a house, whatever it was? Are we gonna allow that to be? Are we gonna allow that to be okay?
Yeah.
Because we all go to bed at night.
Yeah, what was their flaw? They didn't have a nanny cam in their home? What could they have done to be more
They
safe?
locked the door perfectly.
Yeah. It's Moscow, Idaho, it's safe.
I wonder about the door because Kaylee was a door locker. She would come
totally
here,
was.
and so I question that all the time. Like, why wasn't the door locked? Why wasn't the door locked?
That's not what society's built on. You don't.
That screams to me that there was no signs of forced entry. You understand that? No signs of forced entry. So they're saying that the door had to be unlocked, or it could also be the fact that somebody let them in. Okay. Somebody let the killer in. They knew the killer. All right. So, but there's no sense of, how about this though? It's one thing not to have a sign of forced entry, right? But normally after you let somebody in or somebody comes in, I mean, you're just gonna leave the door open. Somebody's hands or gloves on and you're stabbing. Okay. You're going to be bloody to the point of, if you try to reopen up the door to leave, slide the slider. I'm really, really, really curious to hear when that comes out, if there was any of those markings in terms of gloves. There's not gonna be fingerprints, but you're saying that you If there's nobody, if there's no signs of this person turning with a bloody glove to get into that door or the slider door or to push it across, you're saying that that means in my head that they left the door open when this all transpired. So that would mean that that community, which you're trying to keep this, that's why you didn't use a gun, because you didn't want to be loud, right? Otherwise you would have used a gun. And that's what I'm thinking. But you're just going to leave the door open so like the screaming and everything could be heard. I'm telling you, I've been there. I've been there. And if those doors were open, and there was screaming, you're going to hear it. You're going to hear it. I was there. You're going to hear it.
Say, oh, well, you didn't lock the door, so you deserve to die in your sleep. You don't do that. We have to make a society where these people show red flags, we identify.
How would the killer know that the door was unlocked? How would the killer ever expect that?
them, we address them, and then we remove them from hurting other people.
The phone call the Gonzalez family received on November 13th is one they'll never forget.
We were, it was Sunday around
We were watching football.
1-ish, and we were
like
watching
every
football.
family, or a lot of families on Sunday.
And
We were watching
our
football.
son was here. Everybody was home except for she was down at.
That she got it from the. I think they thought it was a shakedown. I do not think any student did it.
Right.
But I think that they all
nobody
know
told you
far
that,
more
right? That's
than they're
something
saying.
that when it comes to the shakedown stuff.
Well, I know
that's
that
not
he-
something that your daughter
Well,
told you
the
that she
shakedown
thought it was a
stuff. Oh
shakedown.
no, that I was told. No, I was told that.
You were told what? How? When were you told that?
They were. It was a drug house that somebody. They were there. The creeper was there, and there were people there.
Okay. Okay.
And
Hold on.
to buy drugs.
Hold on. Who told you this? And when was this told?
My child told me this. This was in the beginning. That
And
there
she
were
was told by the student from University of Idaho.
the student's girlfriend from University of Idaho.
Okay. Where did she get that information from?
My daughter told me is that she got it from the Wi-Fi.
Oh, she got it from the sorority.
Yeah, she got it from the sorority. That's what she told me at the time.
1, 2, 3, 4, almost as though they're walking in single file out at night at 3 o'clock in the morning, actually closer to 3:12 in the morning. And as you watch those four figures, remember, police say the murders happened between 3 and 4 in the morning. Did those people see something? Who are they? Have police tracked them down, asked them any questions, ruled them out? And again, if they're ruled out, did they see something as they were on foot, walking just steps away from where the murders happened? We do not have the answers to this, any of it. But as usual, our senior national correspondent, Brian Enton, is live on the case. And tonight he is standing in that exact location, right where that body cam action took place. So Brian, for us looking at it on television, it's hard to get the exact perspective of where the officers were standing, what direction their body cams were pointing, and where those four mysterious figures were walking from and to, and how far away they were from the actual murder scene. So can you take me there and help us get a feel?
Yeah, it's very confusing when you're looking at the body camera video, so hopefully we can give you some perspective. This is Band Field. This is where the alcohol call came in. The young men were here in the field when the police first showed up. That is the Sigma Chi fraternity house.
Okay, right there, Brian Enton has it wrong. There was no call that came in, okay? There was no call that came in to dispatch police there, okay? I just want to make sure everybody understands this. Those of you guys that are new. These undercover cops were sitting in, when we turn this camera around, we're sitting in the parking lot that is right down by where the stairs are that lead up to the 1122 King Road house. They were already there. There was no call. What the 911 dispatch is reporting as the call is when they use the radio to radio in. This is why when people see the body cam, they see, wait, the body cam starting at 2:56, 2:58, Lana, the call didn't come in until 3:01. How is that possible? Well, it's possible because there was no call that came into the police to dispatch anybody. This is the undercover team, and it is the 3:01 is from radioing in, and that's the first radio activity that then starts this case, like this incident. Okay. So that's why they hit their body cams to start doing what they're doing. And yes, it's before the 3:01 call because it's before the 3:01 call. There is no call. The call is the radio communications. So there is no call. That's like 90% of the misconception that's going around. And I just thought it's important to point that out.
Right there. So the police walked those young men across the street. This is Taylor Avenue. Right.
He does walk them across. Right there is where he parks that vehicle. But prior to walking across to that area, you can hear, if you enhance the audio, you can hear a scream. Or you can hear tires screeching. I don't care what you want to call it, but you could also hear laughing, and you can hear other things going on, and it sounds like it's coming from a distance that, like, when the way he's facing is like this way, it sounds like it's coming from the left side of that guy's body. Anyways, what's on the left side is Sigma Chi, so which you would expect to hear noise from, and they thought that these cops were fake because they were. They thought that one of the frats was playing like a joke. Also, they have nothing on that says that they're cops. So you're not dressed. You're dressed in street clothes. So when the guy says to him, why didn't you stop? I have no idea who the fuck you are. And you didn't show your badge. You didn't show me anything. Why would I think that you're a cop? So also he says, now this is what's amazing. If you listen to the Banfield camera, it's like he watched them and he said the way that y'all like were stumbling down the stairs and across the street. Where would you have to be sitting for somebody to see what was transpiring when you were stumbling down the stairs, which we're about to see? That leads right literally what's across the street. This is where we set up our spot for the demolition. That's 1122 King. That's what those stairs are. Okay. And for a cop to say, well, how much have you had to drink? We saw you guys stumbling down. Okay. They were literally right at the King Road house. This is going to come up in trial. Mark my motherfucking words.
Right to this spot right here. I was able to identify it because of the fire extinguisher. And they were standing in this spot, the young men, and the body camera video was pointing.
No, they were standing in front. You wake up in the morning on November 13th. Can you just describe your day?
So I don't remember like exactly when I woke up. I just remember like waking up and opening up my Snapchat, and there were dozens of Snapchat messages in all the group chats. And I just remember like, oh, this is kind of whack. And then I got up and I was like getting ready for work, and then like when I kind of like woken up a little bit more, I started to go through them because I did not want to have to read a lot of shit early in the morning. And then I ended up I was just sitting there scrolling through it, and then opened up the messages, and then there it was. It was like, holy shit, did you guys hear about what happened? Like blah 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 blah. And I'm scrolling up, and there's just lines and lines and lines of text. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's awake. And this is before 9:30 on a Sunday, and I remember that because I had to go to work, and I ended up not going because I wanted to be with my brothers, right? Kind of obvious. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and it was like, I don't remember what exact time I woke up, but I remember we were all talking about it. We all knew about it. And like my boss, my coworkers were texting me later, asking me like if everything was okay, and they had even heard about things. They heard like it was a shooting and stuff like that. So, and yeah, it was kind of weird because like at the beginning, everyone said like at the beginning, like the very first messages where people were talking about the stabbings, or like a stabbing had occurred, and then it changed to an OD, and it was just kind of weird. Like looking back on it, it changed to an OD so quickly, and like nobody questioned it, and like we didn't question it either because we knew there were drugs in that house, and like just genuinely thought like, okay, they got a bad batch, and that's just what happened, right? Because you see it on the news, it happens in bigger cities.
So you said you had to go to work, and you said you had to be to work at 9:30. So this would have happened before, like you got to work.
Yeah. No, this was definitely and it was like a I don't know 5-10 minute drive to work, and like I had to like get ready too. So you're talking like well before 9 o'clock in the morning at least.
Hi, Heather Roberts with ABC News. Just to follow up on what she asked, so the other two roommates were there at the time of the attack?
All the information that we have from our investigation is that yes, they were.
Okay, but they were unhurt.
That is correct.
So is there any explanation as to why it took so long then for someone to call 911? You have surviving witnesses to an incident at 3 or 4 in the morning, and the 911 call didn't come until noon?
I don't think I ever said that they were witnesses. I said they were there. So, you know, we don't know why that call came in at noon and not in the middle of the night. Would have we loved for that to have happened? Yes, but that's not how it took place. So
A big break in the case, a grainy image.
Right there, Fry's gonna have to answer that one day. We don't know why that call didn't come in. Yeah, you do. If what you were being told is truthful, which would be this: there was no reason to call anybody during the middle of the night, because that's when they're trying to say that this happened. But truly, I've seen it before, and that's why I'm going to speak on it, and I'm coming hard with it. I've said this since day one, which is the time of the crime is not the time of the crime. I've seen Idaho State Police know that information and legit knew and had no problem arresting a guy and did it all based off of somebody saying when something happened, but the evidence would point to a different time in a different narrative. Okay. So now it is very important to understand that there is nothing out there, nothing other than headlights. Truly think about this. When did this crime happen? There is nothing out there, because normally when something happens and it's like somebody calls 911 and then you kind of have this range of when this incident took place, there is nothing out there besides if and when people want to start speaking on medical examiners and the time of death and things like that. But there's nothing that says when this happened. Nothing. And in fact, Idaho State Police is notorious for this. They're notorious. The Idaho State Police Department is notorious for this. And you have a PCA that literally is centered around the time of a crime that not once in that PCA is backed by scientific evidence, is backed by no evidence whatsoever. And in fact, it is backed by an eyewitness account of somebody that the police said wasn't an eyewitness at the jump. But more importantly, then they continue on the narrative to say, I have no idea why that person wouldn't call somebody, right? And then they go into, now they're saying they didn't call 911 because of a frozen stock state. No, you're going to then have to explain why they didn't call 911 then when they woke up in the morning. Like, they still didn't call 911. They weren't the people that called 911. Their phone may have been used, but they weren't the people that called 911. So Let's see. I gotta make sure that. So there is nothing that says that this crime happened between 4:07 and 4:17. I think that that's really, really, really important to understand. They're just making that up based off of truly off of we're going to go with these headlights and these headlights. You would think that all this time that you would try to, we talked to the coroner, or I'm sorry, then we talked to the ME, and they said that, they had been dead for X amount of time. What do cars moving on a street have absolutely anything to do with when the crime took place? Then they refuse to use the victims' cell phones or any of their data. Why would you refuse to use those in the PCA? Well, guys, because it contradicts the PCA, so you can't use those. They're going with DM statements and the phone data from DM and Bethany's phones, but you're not using any of the victims shit. Think about any type of murder that ever happens. You use the victim's phone to tell you, like, are you kidding me? You're telling me all 4 of those victims' phones aren't used for this time of crime? Especially if you want to say that Xana was awake and getting her DoorDash? Thank you. You guys, welcome to the game of Idaho State Policing. Because they've made it a game now. They've taken 4 people's lives that were murdered, and now a person that, was arrested for this crime. And it's going to be a game of, is law enforcement going to get away with this setup? The advocating that I've seen for Brian Koberger would not be, you can advocate for our rights, but that's not what I'm saying. They are advocating for that man and his innocence. They're not just advocating for his and our rights. And that's a big, huge difference. So this whole narrative, usually when the narrative that is being pushed and pumped, which it was pushed and pumped that, hey, Brian Koberger is a stalker. Brian Koberger is a misfit. Brian Koberger is this. And, he preyed on that house with those residents there and plotted this out and was stalking them. And that's what they made it seem like in the PCA, so much so that that's what the mainstream media put out there. I've never put that out there. And in fact, I fought so hard against to say, where is it say that Brian Koberger was stalking anybody, surveying anybody? It's just not there. It's literally not there. And how I knew that it wasn't there is because they would just say something, and the next paragraph, that's why it's so cut. That's why it's so choppy. After you would write something in what you told the judge or who's ever going to be signing it, the magistrate, what you're doing or what you did, and then the next paragraph is, what are the fruits? What did it yield? What did you get? What did you get from it? And every time that they talked about what they did and why they went and got this search warrant and why they went and got that search warrant, guess what it yielded? Abso-fucking-lutely dick. And that's why they go on to the next. That's why they have nothing to say. Everything that they would go and they do, it yielded nothing. And that's why it looks so choppy, is because it's just on to the next paragraph that we're just, this is the next thing that we did. Again, what did it yield then? Nothing. The next thing, nothing. The next thing, nothing. And the biggest thing I think that people need to go back and check is, you said Brian Koberger went back there that next day and was seen on the camera or seen on the towers because his phone was pinging. At the time, you didn't know what time that crime could have happened. That crime could have happened at 8 a.m., 10 a.m., 911 wasn't called until almost noon. So why wouldn't you have, and you do have it actually, you have all that footage, which is not just from midnight. It goes all the way until, noon. Go looking at all that footage to see if you can find Brian Kohlberger on any of those cameras, like you tried to explain his route going there at 2:52, 2:47 a.m., 2:53, then 3:27, all that. Then why isn't there any videos that you talked about in the PCA talking about that 9 to 9:12, then 9:21? Where's any of that video that's helping corroborate your little, he trying to make it seem like he went back there. He was on the, what do you call it? The cell towers. He was peeing on a Moscow cell tower. You asked for the video, and you secured videos from 12 midnight, actually I think even 9 p.m. and until when? Till noon. So, oh, that's right. You probably did look at it. You probably did look for it, but guess what? It yielded nothing. You don't have Brian Kohlberger or a white-looking sedan on any cameras, do you, between 9 and 9:32 on either campuses? That should be huge, and it will be huge. But the first thing that Ethan's parents, they were the first parents to actually ever talk publicly. And like I said, I save all my work, and I have it. And their parents wanted to correct this false narrative of drugs and this love triangle. And I thought to myself at the time, I'm like, why do they think this is going around? This drug shit and this love triangle. So much so that the parents who have gone, they're going to Crime Con and building tulips. They don't, and they will not be attending any of this stuff, but they wanted to come out right away and say, these are good kids, which how do you know who any of them are? But regardless, and that they didn't do this stuff. There's no drugs, and this wasn't some love triangle. Well, I want to know who was saying that. I want to know who was saying that there was drugs, because at that point when Ethan's parents talked, we all knew that they were stabbed. This was not an OD. This was not we all knew, the public knew, that these kids were not killed from an OD. So where is the drug angle coming in? And where is this love triangle coming in? Because we all didn't hear that. That must have been a local thing. So much a local thing. Like, we're talking like a frat thing. We're talking like a sorority frat campus local thing that the parents wanted to. That's why they wanted to come out and speak. And they pretty much haven't spoke since, unless it's been on like, they're not going to talk about anything like this. It's more just like, you guys know how it is. And so I went back and I thought about that again. This wasn't about the way they died, that they were trying to end those rumors. This was about why they died. And we want to end the rumors that had anything to do with drugs, and we want to end these rumors that have anything to do with a love triangle. Well, I would love to know where this love triangle came from. Because I know where the drugs came from. Because there was drugs bought in that place. People were selling drugs that lived in that house. Not like they were just a major drug dealer, like they're pimping around in fucking Escalades and gangbanging on the side. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about rich kids and the way that they sell drugs. White rich kids, how they sell drugs. Not how poor ghetto black kids sell drugs. It's a totally different thing. And y'all know if you know. If you don't, you don't.
Of a speeding car that could be the white Hyundai Elantra police are looking for. A night manager at this gas station in Moscow, Idaho, discovered surveillance video that showed a white sedan driving by on the night the 4 University of Idaho students were murdered. The timestamp says 3:45 a.m., right in the time frame in which police say the killings took place. The video has been handed over to police. It shows the car traveling on this road outside the gas station. It's just 1.2 miles from the house where the students were murdered.
Who's out at 3:45 a.m. speeding? And this is significant, Harris, very significant. In a town...
Again, I back us all up to talk about this, which is, this is to talk about where the undercovers were that night. But I want to back up to what Nancy Grace was just talking about. And she's basically saying that car was moving at a fast rate, speeding 345. Well, the murders happened supposedly after that. Again, this is going to help the defense. This is going to help show that there was nothing but mad-ass white Hyundai Elantras or white sedans, period, in that area. And the only place, okay, that has said that the person or people that killed were in cars is the cops. You understand that, right? The police have gone with that narrative to put the killer in a car far away. That's the police. Versus that actually, when you actually look at everything, the way that people move around in that area is they walk. Everybody walks everywhere. And so you're telling me that you're going to, how are you how are you not including anybody that would be walking, especially after you get your hands on the car that you think is the secondary crime scene and has nothing in it? Payne is going to have to answer. You've been patrolling this area for how long? Not that long. And it's your experience that you think not that many cars come and go during that time period. Well, you know what? I happen to agree with you. If I was the defense, I happen to agree with you. But now let's talk about people on foot. People usually walk, don't they? Yeah, they do. So you're saying that in your PCA that, oh my God, it is so uncommon to be driving at that time. What the fuck does that mean? What about the people that are walking? What about all the walkers? How can people in the area who are out and about walking, and you have the cell towers, so you're going to have all these people's phones, and you're going to totally see that there's activity and that they're utilizing their phone on the cell towers, and you guys went ahead and you obtained a 3 to 5 window. So you would have interviewed all those people, right? Just think about this. Think about how in Epic they have to eliminate these things before you could ever go on to like option 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this is what Ann Taylor has been saying. What the fuck kind of investigation did y'all do? How are you going to be able to explain your investigation when you're actually called to the stand to sit up there on that stand and say, yeah, we didn't obtain our first search warrant until 3 days after the murder? Excuse me? Yeah, we didn't. The murders were on November 13th. And I believe we put in our search warrants on November 16th and we got them back on November 17th. Wow. You guys are on it. Okay. That sounds really fucking promising. Okay. And then it looks like you then applied for all of these search warrants in this order. Was there a reason that you applied for the search warrants, in this order? You would do them in the level of importance, right? Think about it. So why was somebody's Reddit so important? by November 21st, December 1st. That's wild, right? And then just because you went out there and got the information doesn't mean that you got it right then and there. You know, they have to take time to gather it all up and get it on back to you. And just because you got it back to you doesn't mean that you viewed it, right? Okay. They're going to have to explain this investigation. Well, we just sat around. We didn't do much until we got the name Brian Goldberger from IGG. I mean, they're going to have to talk about what they did. What did y'all do? And they're going to talk about how we had to process the crime scene not once but twice. They're going to say why. And then you guys went back there right the day after Thanksgiving and you guys got 10 more pieces of evidence that you added into. Like, what are those 10 pieces? When a jury truly hears how fucked up this case is and was investigated, this would fall under, I mean, if Ann Taylor can use, which I know that she can, not only is there going to be a third-party culpability defense, there's reasonable doubt, but also what about an inept investigation, which would fall under the Bowden defense? I think it's section 1107 in the Supreme Court. I'm just throwing that out there. Which refers to the inept police investigation that led to why this will never be solved. Now you guys asked if I knew about Linda Lane, Special Linda Lane. And I want to show you guys something here. This one's for you guys out there. I'm trying to. Thank you. Here you go. Moscow Murder Massacre. You guys see that? Let me see if I can. We're going to get into the Scotty G. Hard-hitting, take no prisoners coverage of the brutal November 13th, 2022 slaying Maddie Mogen, Kaylee Gonzalez, Xana Kuno, and Ethan Chapin. Now, hang tight. Let me share for you guys this next piece of information. Which is if you go to the https Idaho4substack.com, P. Coomer, Scott Green's book, The Moscow Murder Massacre. Okay. Coomer, Scott Green's book. And this is Idaho4, April 7th, 2024. You guys know who this is, right? That's your boy Kane, Linda Lane, right? Well, reviewed in the United States on December 8th, 2023. A good read with plenty of practical wisdom for those facing crisis. Well, one person found this helpful, but this got a 5-star review. What the fuck? Somebody writes, was Kane one of the 400 who were surveyed? Now, I want you guys to understand that Kane struck one of my videos. I was one of the first people to get my hands on. He had done some tutorials for property he was selling, and he got it to his son, and he wanted his son, like, he doesn't know what he's doing, but he wanted to be able to advertise his rental properties that were, on the campus for obviously people. And so I got my hands on them and I did a reactionary video. And then I said to myself, how is my video getting struck? I I countered. But how does this man know any about, like, you got to talk to people to understand how to even go about doing that. Because if, and in fact, you fill something out and your counter is like, you really want to be careful when you're going to go try to strike somebody's shit, because you're signing it under the penalty of perjury, just so you guys know. And if you lie, it can be used against you, obviously. But he had a really, really big problem with me showcasing his property, like these rentals that are right there. And I don't know if it's because he's waving like this, like a I don't know, like an imbecile. But when I did more digging, the relationship that he has and his family and his son have with Coomer Scott Green is truly insane. So much so that it was Coomer Scott Green that got his hands on that video, Linda Lane, and got the police to go over there and get that. Just so you guys are all clear with that. And I can't wait till this, all these chains of custody of evidence comes out. How did you guys possibly get Brian Kohlberger's parents' trash? What lab did you use to test any of this? How did you get it back to Idaho on the same day and get results the same day? Just curious. No. Go back here. And I'm going to show you guys. You guys remember the morning of? It was such a quiet morning. That's why everybody and their mother showed up to the 1122 King Road house, because they just had nothing going on. Remember that? Okay. I want you guys to pay attention here. I put this in a video, but I really want to break this down as clear as possible for you guys right here. So see how it says 22-MO SAT, and then it has 9901, and it's a narcotics K9 search. This is the address, and it was time report was 11:33. So this should be the MO9901 report, because it was called to action at 11:13 before the 11:33 call to action. So what I want to show you guys is the order of sequencing of how this whole thing is transpiring. So you see how it's the 9901? Now look at the 9902. It's 11:13. But the 9901 is at 11:33. Okay. Your sequencing of numbers, so 22 dash, it goes MO, then it 9900. It comes in chronological order. Okay. Well, what the fuck? This isn't in chronological order. I said to myself, for such a quiet morning, I don't know who thinks anything's a quiet morning when you need to have a canine search going on. You got your dogs out there, right? And so if they use dogs at the home at all, at 1122 King Road home, but I'm proving here that how in the world can this be out of order, out of time sequencing order? So an officer requested the case at 11:13 a.m. The case number is the 9902, and that's the substance control. But look at, see, 9902. You see, 11:13. Controlled substance problem. But the 9901, which was right before it, but it was reported 11:33. Wait a second. How does that have a time? How does that have a number that's before that dispatch? That's fucking possible. Just so you're clear, that's impossible. You're going in sequence. 9901 has to have the earlier time. And then I said, where is ED Street in Maine? What the fuck's going on here? I wanted to check out the area. But I said, this is clear as day. Like, this is a problem in their personal ways that whatever they were doing, this needs to be looked into. Only because they said it was such a quiet morning is why I looked into it. I said, this is anything but a quiet morning. They're fucking using dogs, canine dogs, to search. And this happens literally right before. Okay. So we have an 1113 call or police radio in, 1133, and then at 1156, we have that. So how would anybody say this was a quiet morning? And when I zoomed in and checked out this area, this is over by where Dutch Bros is and Hunga Dunga Brewery. That's right where the two people that worked that were victims. This is right over in that area. It's right by where they worked. Right up here on your right is the Dutch Bros. And then right behind Dutch Bros is the Hunga Dunga Brewery. Again, remember all those Venmos, coffee and shit? So right there. So I was just trying to show you guys the area. So when you guys went and checked it out yourselves, I like to walk it through. But that's right there at the intersection, because behind the way that it is in this area, there's back alley roads that they have a back driving place as well as like in the front. So I was just letting people know all their surroundings there. But this is where this ED Street, blah, blah, blah. And then I started looking for property over there. So I was just curious if there was any rental properties over there. There are. I was trying to understand because they didn't give a specific address of where this substance control issue was and the fact that they brought dogs out, canine dogs out. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. What matters is that this isn't the order. This isn't the order. It can't be the order, right? But right there on your right, it's going to be right there. That's go past that. And that's there it is, the Dutch Bros. And then literally right behind Dutch Bros is Hunga Dunga Brewery. And so I went to the back and I showed you guys the back area. But something that I think is just rather extremely interesting is what this area is like back there. And if you want to store shit. So remember, people were like, we couldn't call the cops yet because we had to get shit the fuck up out of the house because there was drugs in there or there was whatever. And so I just wanted to check out an area where you'd have to like move shit to. Because I don't believe the narrative is the narrative, right? So I was just checking it all out. And I was checking out it in concert with things that were going on that morning. Because people always fuck up when they give you too much information. It was too much information to say that, oh, it was just a quiet morning. Nothing was going on. You know what that told me? It wasn't a quiet morning. Something was going on. I don't buy that. I didn't buy it then. It was a quiet morning. So 3 people showed up to a unconscious person. And wouldn't you want to dispatch like medics for an unconscious person? This was oversell. This was oversell to just make it seem like nothing was going on that morning. Well, I don't agree that scent dogs isn't nothing, but it was a very quiet Sunday morning in Moscow before the 911 call came in. And that's why they all went, well. So then how do you explain that? Then I got Dave's messages that were from Snapchat got them all downloaded. And sure as shit, that whole section is missing. What are the odds? I turned that over. So remember how I talked about it and I said, well, it's suspicious that you want to put in a probable cause that Brian Kohlberger was peeing on cell towers because that's suspicious that, oh my God, at 9 to 9:21, he was peeing on cell towers. It's consistent with the cell towers that provide service to the 1122 King Road. God, that's so suspicious. But if anyone else hears about this murder prior to 911 being called by hours, and they possibly show up in the area, like nothing to see here. So here a guy could be shopping and be doing something other than whatever. Or it could just be that Payne can't fucking read shit. So, but do you understand how crazy this is? Is to say that somebody was literally on a cell tower and that's why they're a suspect? So the only people that can know about the 1122 King Road murders hours before 911 and not call it in and be cleared within hours are the sorority and frats on University of Idaho campus. But if anyone else hears about it and possibly shows up in the area, they are a suspect. Think about that. I'm nosy as fuck. What if I heard something and I show up because, oh my God, I just heard it on the radio. I mean, I heard it on the scanner. That makes me a suspect. That's wild as fuck, man. Now, I have another one for you. So...
Okay, where's over yonder? Are you talking up by Sunset Mart? Up the hill by the gas station?
Yeah.
Okay. Why did you think it was a good idea to take a city-owned sign and take it back to, I'm assuming, your apartment?
Yeah, it was like falling on the side of the fucking road.
Let's go ahead and just set it down for right now, okay?
You want it?
I'll set it for right now.
Okay.
Full time. He's sticking with the story that he had no idea this guy had a sign, or that he knew the guy had a sign, but he was very blatant about the fact that once he got there, he saw his friend had a sign, didn't think anything more of it, and was like, okay. So,
maybe anything with him or
him?
Yeah.
I mean, like, what's it, petty theft?
Yeah, for that guy.
If you're going to charge him, I mean, complicity or what's the term they use over here? Accomplice. So he basically didn't assist him in taking it, but he also made no effort to stop him. I think it's pretty weak in terms of charging him. But that being said, with him admitting he picked it up, took him, I don't think I'd do anything with this guy over here. I'd probably cut him. Yeah. If they were walking together and both grabbed it and both took off, I'd go a different route. But with him walking up and then being like, we're walking back.
Well, if you don't get him, I'll get this guy a second look.
Okay. Hayden is, Is your guy 21? Okay. All right, Hayden, you're free to go. You can head back inside.
Okay.
You're just going to hang out a bit. You're going to get a citation for theft, so.
Okay. Do you want me to take it back?
Once we're done here, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you want me to take it back to like falling down where I found it, or
Go. I'll Were you trying to be funny? Like what?
It was all funny.
No what?
That I did that.
No what?
That I did that. You drive by and see it?
Yeah.
Or...
Let me.
I'm just wondering.
Let me preface this by how many drinks you had tonight. How many beers you had tonight? Like quite a few. You're not going to get in trouble for it.
It's not like quite a few. No, I know.
All right, so that was priceless. He says, so how did you know that I took it? How did you know that I took it? He doesn't answer his question. Okay. And he says, well, how many drinks did you have tonight? What the fuck does that have to know with how did you know that I took this sign? Where did you come from? Where did you witness me stealing this sign? Because I took this motherfucking sign so fucking far away from where the fuck I am right now that you didn't see me take it. You didn't see me take this sign. Like, where have you been? Like, where have you been?
I could
Yeah,
drink.
no, that's fine.
But, probably like 7 total, I guess.
Yeah.
But shots wise, I don't know. No.
So you're fine.
I'm not too fucked up to where like I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Let me tell you from our point of view. It's almost 4 o'clock in the morning.
It really is. I want the girl home from the bar.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's a Saturday night.
I know.
Kids are out everywhere. We see 2 people that look like college kids.
There you
carrying
go.
a sign that we know belongs to the city because it says sidewalk closed. Use other.
That's your boom right there. I provided that to Ann Taylor. I said, yeah, Atlanta, yeah, we checked and there's no blockage there. So I actually checked that. So I provided that to Ann Taylor because this is a very, very important statement. This is what I've been saying. There's kids out everywhere. He is admitting on the night of the murder that there are kids out everywhere. Okay? Their kids are out everywhere. So now, what does your PCA say again? It's very unlikely or unusual for there's not that many cars that travel around here at 4 a.m. or 3:30 or whatever. And I would say I'd agree with you. But now, aren't there kids walking around, running around, drinking, acting like idiots all over? The question, thank you so much, Kay Miller. 20 memberships, catch a pair, catch one. There's kids out everywhere. Well, I want to ask this officer, wait, what was weren't you on the undercover drugs and alcohol task force? So you guys are just pulling people over or running up to people. This is a sign. This isn't what you're there to do, though. That's not like why are you doing that? You were out because you're looking for drugs, right? This undercover drug and underage task force of drinking. That's going to be huge. Because why was there ever this task force put together in the first place? Because there was high drugs in the area, right? You guys are trying to get, do you understand where I'm going with this? Why did they ever, they're not in a marked cop car. All of this shit's coming all out. Ann Taylor is going to destroy this. And I'm going to help. I'm going to help because I don't believe in the narrative. The evidence that I've seen so far that I have taken, I went and got. My team, all of you guys have helped. We're not fucking morons. And 4 people were murdered. And they deserve the truth. They're victims. And we're not about to have a 5th victim because y'all are going to railroad some motherfucker. If Brian Kohlberger did it, it'll come out because I'm going to go get the truth. You think I'm going to bury evidence that shows that Brian Kohlberger did this? Absolutely not. And in fact, if you wanted the truth, I'd be the first person that every parent out there should come and grab. Lana will get it. No, but if you try to come to me and you think you're going to hand me some bullshit and try to fuck with my shit, motherfucker, you're going to learn today. But if I was a parent out there, the person I'm coming to get the truth, because I don't want anything to be covered up, or I don't want a narrative. I want the truth. My kid got murdered and I wanted to know why. And if it has anything to do with this university or the police covering shit up, I want to know about it. So anybody that's going to try to get in my way of that, I'm going to start asking you, what the fuck are you doing? This cop says it. There are kids out everywhere. You'd better not bury any truth ever. Hell no. Why would I? That's what we're here for. This cop says it. He was driving out. He was around the whole area. And he's going to say, well, I can just lie to them. I can just lie to them. Well, guess what? When you have a murder trial and you're going to have every cop up there just saying, I can just lie to them. I can just lie to them. And I'm going to say, just like you're lying to us right now, aren't you? That's all you know how to do is lie, 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 lie. I don't have to tell you the truth. I'm a cop. I can just tell you whatever. No, I want to know how the fuck you knew that he was carrying that sign. Where are you in this area? Where were you before this? Were you over there at the Groves? Did you have to come from the Groves, which put you on the 700 block? It put you on the 700 block of Indian Trails, because I want to know how you possibly couldn't pass Brian Kohlberger at 3:26 right before you put on your run it back. I have the whole body cam. You have enough time if you left the 700 block to actually flick on your bullshit here so that you are seen on this body cam from the 700 block, which was over by the Groves, and you went the back way around the police department. Yeah. There you go. And I pointed this out, and I said, well, how do we know that that white sedan isn't actually this fucking car? This car right here. How do we know that? How do we know that this car wasn't talking with the other white sedan? I want to know where this car was prior to coming right to here, because we have that nice little gap between Banfield cam, the Banfield shit, and when this bitch fires up at whatever time this body cam starts up at. So you have the cops on body cam. Well, just this undercover shit from basically 2:53 a.m. right after the phones go dead, in a sense, for Kaylee and Maddie. Okay. After all the phone calls happen, 2:52, never heard from again because people want us to believe that they were sleeping. That's right where the cops were. These undercovers. And then you put yourself, we're going to pull aside these kids that we see, and we're going to say that they look like they're stumbling and falling over, which they don't look like they're drunk at all. And then we're going to be seen on body cam with them. Okay. And then after we're done writing them tickets, our body cams go off. And then we have a period of time until this body cam, the same two people are then now seen over here. No, nobody was calling in any reports anywhere. That's the thing, is that every single time that this crew, who's the only crew that we have body cams for the whole entire night, there was no calls in. Nobody was calling the police. Nobody needed help. Nobody was reporting anything. It was the undercover people that once they radioed in, that's what alerted this call. All the calls that night. I went and obtained every single body cam from the night of the murder going into then the 13th. I call this, it's 11/13, but I'm referring to it as like the nighttime of 11/12. Your videos breaking down the car routes are, it shows that there is a legitimate argument to prove that this car that these officers are in is legit the 3:26 a.m. sighting on the 700 block of Indian Hills. I prove it. I prove that. And what's crazy is I tried to get the dash cam of this, because let's see if this car caught Brian Kohlberger's car. You know what I mean? Because y'all were right there and they tried to hide it, or they didn't have a dash cam on because they wouldn't give it over. They wouldn't toss it back to me. I tried to get the body cam they said it was an ongoing investigation and I could not have the body cam of the 11/13 and the 11/33. And they said as soon as it's not, an open investigation, that I could have those body cams. So I said, what? So then I looked up the jails and I said, I want to know who got arrested for some drugs on 11/13. Because if this is an ongoing investigation, I can't get body cams from the canine search and the suspicious drug thing from, I just showed you guys 11:13, 11:33. What is that ongoing? So I went and looked up if anybody was arrested. No, no, and no. So what could that possibly have anything to do with? Again, I turned all my findings over to who I think could benefit the most from. I also turned over a source of mine. Because when I found the evidence to prove that somebody had what I believe is already subpoenaed the Snapchats and had the Snapchats either removed or put on block, I thought that could possibly mean that somebody was trying to tamper with an investigation. So I turned that in. I don't give information where I think that it could be buried. I don't trust the tip line. You saturated your own tip line. Why the fuck would I send any tip into any tip line? I wouldn't. That'd be absolutely idiotic of me. Unless I wanted to create a paper trail to show that if my tip was not turned over, then that's a Brady violation. So then I thought about that, and then I sent in my tip. Because then I said, if this tip does not get back to you guys, then that's a Brady violation. That's burying evidence. It's the tip line. So I toe tagged him. I said, try to keep this out of the defense's hands. Because it's a paper trail. You have to turn over every single tip has to be turned over and vetted. Smart, Lana. You're smart. I just think 5 steps ahead. But the rest I'll keep in my back pocket of what I've done. But when I look at this case, I feel bad. I feel bad. I believe that the parents have been extremely lied to. Okay? And I feel that their anger is displaced. Okay? Because I think that that's because of being lied to. If you're going to get me to give up on my beliefs, like if I believe that everyone is innocent until proven guilty, but then I get caught in a situation like this and my kid was murdered and everyone's like, Lana, how would you be about it? I would say, you're going to give me the information that proves to me that this person killed my kid. Otherwise, these are my foundational core beliefs. And this is how I raised my kid that was murdered. So I'm not going to go against what I've raised my kid on, what I believe on, because you want to tell me something that you won't provide me the information. I have a problem with that. I have a huge problem with that. So much so that you didn't even include me to think that I could help in this. You don't even know anything about my kid. You can't even say her fucking name right. I have a problem with you. But now you want me to just trust and believe that you got the right person. Well, I just wouldn't be able to do that. Sorry, but I just couldn't. And if everything that you saw was true and there was different ways that somebody was murdered, or you thought, because there's 4 victims and they didn't match, you want to sell me that only one person did this, but my gut's telling me that this is really, it seems like there'd be multiple people. And you want to tell me then I find out how you caught this person? Like, I have to have red flags going up. That's just me. So You chose to take me out of the equation on December 1st when you said you were going to stop providing me with any information. So much so that I had to come out to Fox News and basically spill the tea. And all I've been doing ever since is spilling the tea. So I can't possibly think that the Gonsalveses think that the cops are doing a great job when all the Gonsalveses have done is spill the tea. And by spilling the tea, they've contradicted themselves on so many occasions that I don't know if it's on purpose, which I think is dumb if it would be on purpose. And I don't understand why Shannon Gray is allowing his clients to continue to talk. So it's going to be very interesting how this plays out from here on out, knowing that a federal attorney and Ann Taylor are saying that they believe in their client's innocence. And when you know and have seen cases of corruption and the police only cover for one person, money and themselves, which is like two. It's one and the same. The university has made hundreds of thousands, if not millions, off of their dead kids. I'd have a huge problem with that if I was the Gonsalveses, and that's where I'd be placing my issues. Who the fuck do you think you are, Scott G. Daddy Green, to write a fucking book acting like you have a roadmap on a crisis situation? Because what the fuck did you do? What did you do? I haven't even spoke to you. So did you put in your fucking manual that, hey, the number one thing that you want to do is not talk to the parents? Because I don't see that in the fucking manual. Let me go on my tour and talk about all the things that Scott didn't fucking do for our grieving families, which, according to the Gonsalveses and the latest, they said that they have never spoke to that man. He has never fucking said shit to them. Is that in there? Is that in that book? Yeah, the number 4 thing is to wait. What was it? Communication was all in that book. Well, according to the Gonsalveses, there was no communication. And according to the Gonsalveses, when have you guys ever seen a university running and controlling in a part of a presser that is done by the cops, that is done by the lead? What? I've never seen it before. So much so that we thought it was cringe. We thought something was off. And then Scott Green goes and gives every single kid's family that's running a GoFundMe $500 out of his personal account from him and his wife. Is that in the book of, this is number 5, go spend your money on all the GoFundMes. Give every family, every kid $500. Then number 6 is to make sure that you're gone for about 4 hours. 12 noon until 4 o'clock. Scott Green was nowhere to be found. Where was he? Who knows? Literally, who knows? You guys know that? Scott Green was missing. Oh, wait. Isn't that the same amount of time that Payne was missing because he didn't show up into the crime scene until 4? Yeah, that's right. So I don't know. Maybe Payne and Green, maybe they were together. The last time I checked, they were missing. And I hope to God some phone records come out of this. I want to see some phone records. I want to see, since Green made it public and this who was calling what and who was calling who, right? Well, let's talk about it. Let's start talking about some phone fucking records. Y'all want facts. Stop using a fake clone account that Brian Kober did not make, did not have anything to do with on Instagram to go around and sit here and say that he was stalking one of the victims. I am going to literally blow that up. I'm going to show you who created that. I'm going to I said when the day and the time was right that was coming, and I hope that I never had to use that. What I just saw in the courtroom and how they tried to go at a PhD expert who did nothing but his job, and he did it well, to show that Brian Kohlberger can't get a fair trial in Latah County, which ultimately means that the victims aren't going to get justice if we keep it here. So we need to move it. So I'd be a parent calling up and saying, move the fucking trial. If this man is so guilty and you have all of these things against this man, it won't matter if you try him in Latah County or in fucking Alaska. You have the evidence. The evidence doesn't lie. But why you're trying so hard, it's not even about keeping it in Latah County, but why you want it to be tried by the Latah County residents, that speaks volumes to me. You want to do that because of what? You want to try this again? How many millions of dollars do you want to spend? Tens of millions. This is going to cost so much fucking money. You guys have no idea. You have no idea how much it is cost to this point, and they've sealed that. We ain't gonna know. But we can probably give you some really good estimates. Lana and us will eventually need to make headlines, make headline news to spill the beans. It's just a survey. These people, this prosecutor lost his panties because of a 9-question survey that was 100% legal, 100% done by the people that do it. Why did you lose your panties over this? Think about this. Why would you lose it? Why would you lose your panties? You're a prosecutor. 9 questions just spun you like, you want to say 50 Shades of Gray? 50 Shades of Red. 9 questions spun Bill Thompson's panties. And the questions, when you say, these are inappropriate, how are they inappropriate? Your PCA is fucking inappropriate. Your PCA is a bunch of fucking bullshit. That you wanted it disseminated far and wide, like them little hoes you bang, far and wide. When you go and you check out the pages within that PCA, and you see the part that talks about how and why they obtained the December 23rd, 2022 search warrant for the historical data on Brian Kohlberger's phone from the time inception in June till the day of the murder, why they went and obtained that information was to aid in their efforts. Aid in their efforts to prove that Brian Kohlberger, A, surveyed them, B, stalked them, C, all in any phone, any communications between not the victims, because you have to remember, they have the victims' phones. They have the victims' informations. They needed to see if Brian Kohlberger was in contact with any of the victims' associates. So not the victims, but the victims' associates. Okay? That's why they said they went to obtain that search warrant. And it was granted. Okay? It was granted. But what? And then it's like, okay, so great. A judge and a magistrate granted you this amazing opportunity to just get all this amazing information. But wait, what did it yield? What did you get out of it? You got dick. You got a guy named fucking Payne to write in a probable cause affidavit for the arrest of Brian Kohlberger to sit and say, well, I consulted with a cast expert, 7 years with the FBI. And Brian Kohlberger's phone pinged 12 times. 11 of those times in the late evening, early morning hours. And one of those times, not in the late hours, early morning hours. That's all the fuck you got? Was somebody's phone was pinging on a tower that provides service to 40 fucking thousand people? You didn't say in the probable cause affidavit for the arrest of Brian Kober that, well, Brian Kober called no known associates of the victims, and no known associates of the victims called Brian Kober. We attempted to get surveillance of cameras and businesses in the areas on the days that he was said to be in the area. And we can't find his, we can't find his vehicle anywhere near King. Because guess what Ring Camera does? Ring Camera keeps shit for 6 motherfucking months. So in August, when this would have happened, and he's just circling August and September and October and all that bullshit, Ring Camera, which y'all have, that's what you're using, that keeps fucking shit for 6 months. So you would have been able to hit up those people and say, hey, on this day, can you look and see if he's driving around? Like, I'm going to need these days and time stamps. I'm just going to need your whole fucking Ring Camera, okay? And for anybody that's saying and sitting there and saying, well, it's the probable cause, they're not going to put all that shit in the probable cause. Their probable cause has nothing. They have to put stuff like this in there. Otherwise, I mean, legit, they don't have anything. Anything. So everybody can say, oh my God, there's so much stuff that's packed in that PCA. Yeah, well, guess what you're missing? It's not what's in the PCA. It's what you're missing from the PCA that you should have after your big, like, what you went and did and what you got back. What you got, nothing. But Bill Thompson let the media, before there was a gag, because there was a couple days, Bill Thompson let the media run with the fact that Brian Kober stalked the victims. Let the families run with that. The families have told me that. The family, and I said, well, there's no evidence of that. I don't sugarcoat shit. I don't bullshit. I don't need to. I don't give a flying fuck. Like, I care. What I mean when I say, like, I don't give a flying fuck, I don't give a flying fuck to appease anybody. Bill Thompson had no problem, and none of those police, law enforcement people had any problem of letting the whole entire world think. Not I think, but then make all these false statements. And then this dude has a serious problem when his ass gets put on blast for what he allowed and what he perpetrated through the media. He allowed the media to do exactly what he knew that they would do. And that's sick. But the best part about it is, for me, is that he was a whiny little bitch in court. And during stock image time, he had the balls to get up there and object to a PowerPoint because it had stock images. And then guess what my comment was? Oh, you want to know how I feel about stock images? During your investigation, you provided the entire world with stock images of cars that you weren't even going and finding. 2011 to 2013, here's one that has a sunroof. Here's one that doesn't. But we're going to give the media and all you people that are just helping us out, we're going to give you stock images. And then so Santa has a problem, backseat Bill, he's now in the trunk. He then has a problem with stock images. And I'm over here like, what the hell? Why is this guy flipping out over stock images on a spreadsheet? Lo and behold, it wasn't the stock images that he had a problem with. He was trying to argue his point before it got to the damn, and you came with that shit. Because the next PowerPoint slide was, the question was, Were you able to find where the source came from for all of this misinformation in the media? Well, yes. Yes, I did, Anne, says the expert. And then the next slide hits, and it's motherfucking backseat Bill. And I died. I died so much that I want you guys to all see my reaction live one more time. Because I knew it right as soon as the button clicked and the next image came up, and it was him. Because I told you guys, I did lives. I did 5 of them. And I traced it all back, and I said, dude, this is Bill Thompson. I said, Bill Thompson coming out to today, coming out on Good Morning America, coming out here. What is, and then I started planting things together, and I was like, dude, wait a second. He's over here saying that he would send his kids to school. It's because he knows stuff that we don't know. And this was on a date that, wait a second, what? I put all that shit together a long time ago, way before Christmas time. And it's what? March? It's April now. I put all that shit together before Christmas. I think it was in, I want to say, right after Thanksgiving. I papowed his ass. Okay? But more importantly, this is why Bill Thompson has a problem with the truth. Because he can't handle the truth. Because Bill Thompson, you were kept either in the back seat while your investigators and your cheating ass ISP motherfuckers did what they did, and they were like, here, this is the shit show you're about to prosecute, or you were involved. Either way, I love the shit hand that you have and the shit hand that you have to play the remaining way out. When you want to break the rules and when you want to violate our rights, I have a problem with that. And I'm going to speak on that. And the 4 people that got murdered, you think they want the truth. That's what's going to get them justice. The truth. Not the narrative that Billy Boy and the rest of law enforcement wants you to think. I already have ISP by the balls in messing up a case prior to this and using Leslie Lehman to collect video evidence in that case. She was the same ISP agent in the Idaho4 case that was told to send your videos to this broad. Why? So she could bury them like she did in other cases that I can prove. So enjoy this with me while I show you this next video. I've been investigating, guys, cases that the Idaho4 investigators were in on prior to the Idaho4 case. Why? Because it matters. Because we need to know who was in charge of this investigation and how it ends up where it is right here, right now. And I think I've done that, and it's going to come all out. But in the meantime, I think we all need to hear and see this one last time, which is, okay. Again, this is, mind you, this is me live. Okay. And this is, the first, this is my live, I'm like, what the heck's going on here? Why does Bill Thompson have an issue? And so this is what it is. Truth over everything. Here you go. So let's turn this up. Turn me.
Where there's a non-dissemination order at other times. Many times. Was the sole source of the information that you use contained in the media?
Was it came from the media? Sorry. Yes. Everything I used was widely disseminated through the media. Widely disseminated.
Did you find out where the media got the information?
Yes.
Good afternoon, folks. My name is Bill Thompson. I'm the Wichita County prosecutor. And it's sad to be here, but happy to be here.
I think what's even better than me, just my reaction when this next slide comes, is then you have Judge saying, "Can you turn it up?" I'm gonna try to bump the volume.
Well, I'm gonna do my best to turn this up.
And you dog. And oh shit,
If I put the microphone up, is that better?
So, Christy, you don't have to.
That's why.
Let me preface. There's a pending case now in court, and I and my office and the investigators have to live with the restrictions that our Supreme Court places on pretrial publicity. That said, I promise you we will share with you through the court process or otherwise whatever we are allowed to. I just appreciate your patience on that. The factual basis for the charges are summarized in what's called a probable cause affidavit that is on file with the court. According to the rules of the Idaho Supreme Court, that is sealed until Mr. Kohlberger is physically back in Latah County and has been served with the Idaho arrest warrant. At that time, we expect that that affidavit will be available to you so you can share the true facts with all of your readers and your watchers and your listeners and all the people who are interested and really need to know what's going on. So please have patience with us on that. We hope to get that to you as soon as we can.
What a son of a bitch.
This is clip. You heard reference to the probable cause affidavit.
Yes.
And did you hear reference to sharing it with all your readers and watchers?
Readers, watchers, and listeners, and anyone else who's interested.
Did your research tell you that the media took Mr. Thompson up on that offer to share this far and wide?
Yes.
Good afternoon, folks.
What did you see?
Basically, the media took that document and then published the highlights and key findings in that document and added editorial commentary to that information. So let's be clear, they didn't just read the affidavit. There's editorial, there's debate, there's discussion, there's spin, all of it in news stories. And these stories, for example, this one has over 200, I'm sorry, I can't see it. Do you have a copy of the?
I do, Your Honor, I have a printed copy of his PowerPoint. If it would help him refresh his memory.
I just can't see it.
Sure. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Now I see why Bill has a big ass problem with this PowerPoint. Oh, shit. I'm so
So example, this one is on a local television station. On YouTube
Mm.
alone, 130,000 views.
Okay, now I want to show you right before this all happens. Bill Thompson has an objection.
But I wouldn't, for example, look at a news over here, and I don't think that's appropriate.
Well,
Okay, so here, this is really important to understand what this man, who this man is, this little sneaky fuck. All right? The little fucking pube hanging from his chin, man.
And attitudes. And it doesn't make a difference if that fact is true or false. They still develop an opinion and an attitude of the defendant, about the evidence and perceptions of guilt. All of that is what I'm looking at. So I want to see if the media coverage has had an impact. And that's why we do a community attitude survey. And then depending on the results of the survey, there's not enough evidence there to suggest that anything is required. It could be remedial measures such as individual sequestered blood. Maybe that's appropriate in some cases, all the way to the extreme case where it might be.
You can't lie in a PCA.
I want to understand a little bit about the source of media you review to do your work.
And Taylor will be filing a Frank's hearing.
I
motion.
Your Honor, I'm sorry, I need to object.
Here, listen.
This PowerPoint is being played for everybody with no foundation. It's not an exhibit. I think that's improper. I mean, I'm trying to listen to Dr. Edelman's testimony, and I keep seeing slides changing in front of me over here, and I don't think that's appropriate.
Well, you've seen the slides.
I have.
You looked at
But
it.
everybody else here hasn't.
What is
What
so bad about these slides?
here, though, is just an explanation of how he goes about in surveys.
Understand that. That's what his testimony is, but we're getting this visual aid that there's no foundation for, Judge.
Well,
It's just to move it along.
It just seems highly unusual.
Well, hold on. I'm viewing him as an expert.
Yes, sir.
Okay? He's explaining what he does. So I'm going to.
No problem with that. The PowerPoint's a problem. I don't have any problem with his testimony.
All right.
I'm sorry. I
Overruled.
frankly, I've never seen something like this occur.
That objection. I mean, this is not.
Right there, I make a comment. I said, it is a stock image like your fucking cars. Like your car. Like the stock images you guys put out to us, it's a stock image, okay? Because I'm over here. Literally, you saw my reaction. This is real time. I'm like, what is this man? What is he? Why does he have a problem with this? This PowerPoint, right? This is just to show you who Bill Thompson is. Well, I have no problem with his testimony. I have a problem with this PowerPoint. He doesn't come out and say why, with the true reason why he has a problem, right? But we're about to find out why he has a problem. Well, I had a fucking problem being given a goddamn, you want me to go search for some 2011, 2013 white Honda Elantra, but you want to send me two different vehicles, one with the sunroof, one without a sunroof. They're stock images that I traced back through Google, and I could tell you exactly what freaking lot you got them from to put those up. You remember the bomber from Boston, those two dudes? I didn't see them put up no stock images of those two dudes. No, they had the images that they have, and they put them on out there, right? And the public helped. We helped find who truly were those people. Bill Thompson, I have a huge fucking problem with you. I do. Because I think you are a gaslighting typical prosecutor. If the facts are on your side, let this man speak and then destroy him on cross-examination like anybody else would. No, what you're doing here is you're crying like a little baby, throwing a little tantrum in front of America. And I loved it because there's Anne, cool, calm, collective, boom. You are the hooker side of a pillow and she's the cool side of the pillow. And in front of a jury, you're going to get destroyed, Bill. So I hope to God your tactics change from now till then. And I hope that they change for the sake of the victims because they deserve way better representation than this. But Bill Thompson here has a problem with not the facts. He has a problem with this PowerPoint that ultimately shows that he is the cause of the leak to the media, and that go get that PCA. When you get that PCA, disseminate the fuck out of it. Say whatever you want about it. Go to town on that shit. And then had the balls to have Fry get up there and say, we're still collecting information on Brian Kober, so bring us everything you possibly can about him. And then you get all these fucking whack jobs out of the fucking one in their 5 or 10 minutes worth of fame to get up there with their purple hair and say that Brian Kober said that I had childbearing hips and was ready to ride me. Some bullshit like that. When you have the evidence, you don't need all that other shit. And so I'm asking my fellow YouTube platforms that say that they have really good channels and they have really good followings and they only go for the facts, then you need to get on board with making sure that mainstream media cannot run with the Idaho4 case off over here in fucking non-factual la la land, like the prosecutors and the law enforcement agencies have done with that case. And we need to keep them and keep this case with the integrity that the victims deserve it to be on. And so does the person that is innocent until proven guilty. That's what we owe it with our platforms, and keeping mainstream media from not and exposing when they try to go over here and run with their bullshit. That's what you do with a platform if you're trying to make a difference. You don't do this. You don't jump on the bandwagon of mainstream media. Go work for them then.
Not necessarily factual.
But now ready? This is it.
It's
This is
just
great.
An example of how he got to where he got.
That's his testimony, but the PowerPoint is different, Judge. That's,
What is-
I don't know why
it's
we're
a-
seeing the PowerPoint.
it's a stock
when we have
image.
his testimony.
You want to respond to that?
I do, Judge. This is a courtroom demonstrative aid that helps to track the testimony of Dr. Edelman. I can hand him my computer and let him advance the screens if that makes a big difference in it.
And you
This
dog!
just helps explain his testimony.
This is wild.
Judge, we don't have a jury here. Let's just proceed.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Dr. Edelman, we were talking about where you get your information. We were talking about the what? Where you get your information. What media do you look at? I think that's where.
Yes. So I take a conservative approach to how I do it. I look at newspapers in the local coverage right now. So I'm interested in papers that have primary circulation in the venue. Case like this has been reported in many other newspapers, but I wouldn't, for example, look at a newspaper published in Dallas because I don't know if somebody in Latah County would be looking at a paper in Dallas. So I look at the local coverage. I try to look at like local television coverage to see what the community is likely exposed to.
While we're here, I want to ask you some questions about the non-dissemination order.
Okay.
That's been a hot topic and you've heard some of it again today. Are you aware that there's a non-dissemination order in this case?
Yes.
How did you become aware of it?
Well, the first time I became aware of it was when I was reading the newspaper coverage, because that was one of the topics of media coverage, was discussing the non-dissemination order and media's efforts to have it changed. So I was able to read it and follow it in that media coverage. So that's the first time I saw it.
And in January, did you receive an email from my office with the non-dissemination order?
I believe I did.
And you looked at a hard copy again recently?
Yes.
All right. Does that non-dissemination order change how you did your work?
I'm sorry, can you even though
Does the existence of the non-dissemination order change how you did your work?
No, it did not.
Have you worked in cases where there's a non-dissemination order at other times?
Many times.
Was the sole source of the information that you use contained in the media?
Was it came from the media? Sorry. Yes. Everything I used was widely disseminated through the media. Widely disseminated.
Did you find out where the media got the information?
Yes.
Good afternoon, folks. My name's Bill Thompson. I'm the Latah County prosecutor. And it's sad to be here, but happy to be here at the same time.
You turn it up. I can't hear.
Goldberger.
Well, I'm gonna do my best to turn this up.
And you dog. And oh shit,
If I put the microphone up, is that better?
So, yeah. Christy, you don't have to.
That's why.
Let me preface. There's a pending case now in court, and I and my office and the investigators have to live with the restrictions that our Supreme Court places on pretrial publicity. That said, I promise you we will share with you through the court process or otherwise whatever we are allowed to. I just appreciate your patience on that. The factual basis for the charges are summarized in what's called a probable cause affidavit that is on file with the court. According to the rules of the Idaho Supreme Court, that is sealed until Mr. Kohlberger is physically back in Latah County and has been served with the Idaho arrest warrant. At that time, we expect that that affidavit will be available to you so you can share the true facts with all of your readers and your watchers and your listeners and all the people who are interested and really need to know what's going on. So please have patience with us on that. We hope to get that to you as soon as we can.
In that clip, you heard reference to the probable cause affidavit.
Yes.
And did you hear reference to sharing it with all your readers and watchers?
Readers, watchers, and listeners, and anyone else who's interested.
Did your research tell you that the media took Mr. Thompson up on that offer to share this far and wide?
Yes.
Good afternoon, folks.
What did you see?
Basically, the media took that document and then published the highlights and key findings in that document and added editorial commentary to that information. So let's be clear, they didn't just read the affidavit. There's editorial, there's debate, there's discussion, there's spin, all of it in news stories. And these stories, for example, this one has over 200, I'm sorry, I can't see it. Do you have a copy of the?
I do, Your Honor, I have a printed copy of his PowerPoint. If it would help him refresh his memory.
I just can't see it.
Sure. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Now I see why Bill had a big ass problem with this PowerPoint. Oh, shit. I'm so
So example, this one is on a local television station. On YouTube alone, 130,000 views and 224 comments. So people discussing it. That's just
I'm sorry, because sorry about that. Muted. But Brian Kohlberger, Bill Thompson disseminated this. He said, spread it worldwide, and you're going to be able to have all your little followers. You'll be able to tell them all about it, blah, blah, blah. And because they knew how this PCA was proceed. They knew that this was going to look like Brian Kohlberger was stalking these victims, surveying them. But it's the opposite. They try to do everything possible to find a shred of evidence against this man. And they couldn't find it. And that's what they left out. They left out that, yeah, we took all these efforts and measures to be able to aid, to be able to prove any of this shit. But guess what? Nothing came from the fruits of those search warrants. What I mean by that is the search warrants of the phone. The search warrant of saying, okay, well, Brian's phone records are going to show that he was in communication with this person or that person, right? Well, guess what? It came back negative. He wasn't in communications with any of the victims' associates, to include the survivors. Okay? Then they go and go get those Ring cameras that still exist, because Ring cameras exist for 6 months, to prove that you see Brian Kohlberger's vehicle or Brian Kohlberger right by that fucking house. Nope. What else? Okay, then they were trying to prove that. Remember, everybody wants to talk about Mad Greek. Oh, he must have ran into them at Mad Greek. Go get some receipts that he spent any money at Mad Greek. You could have done all these things, and they did, and it didn't come back to anything. And in fact, they knew. In fact, Bill Thompson finally admits it, that Brian, you knew that was false. You knew that was false, and you put it in your questions. Wait a second. How did I know? How would I know that Brian Kober did not stalk anybody? That's what I would have said, that you knew that it was false. How does that guy know that? None of us knew that. In fact, everybody's out there. I'm only saying that I didn't think that it was true because I read and I don't assume. And it said nowhere anywhere that Brian Kober was doing any of those things. And in fact, they tried to go get search warrants and they yielded dick, nothing. And so my issue is Bill Thompson wants to tell the world right now that none of that's true. Well, Bill Thompson, damage is done. You let the world push a narrative that you knew wasn't true, but that was the goal. That was the goal. And that's why you sat down with the Today Show on November 17th, and then a news outlet on November 18th, and then November 27th and 8th. Bill Thompson did more press conferences than anybody realizes. And I hope that Ann Taylor goes and gets all that B-roll film. I hope that I hope that she puts in a normally you can be protected when you go and you ask the media. If you're going to ask them for who their source is, yeah, that's protected. But they're not going to be asking the media for their source. We know that your source was Bill Thompson. We want the footage that didn't get put out there because you copy, cut, and pasted and edited stuff. We want all that B-roll footage. And I think that Ann Taylor should go and get that. Because I think Bill Thompson would have made a lot of mistakes talking to the press. Okay? But I've never seen why a prosecutor, the murder was on November 13th. Why are you sitting down with the Today Show on November 17th when you guys have dick? You guys had just put out search warrants. How do I know that? Because I read all the search warrants returns and I read all the inventory on them that were redacted. But most importantly, I read the dates. And that's what I have a photographic memory on. Dates, timestamps. And what you have done is you let the media crucify this man. Because you don't have a case. Because you don't have a case. That's the truth. But the truth is, guys, that those historical data search warrants came back, and the only thing that they could possibly use was to say that Brian Koberger pinged 12 times on the same tower that 40,000 other people use. And that led to, oh my God, Brian Koberger stalking them on 12 different occasions. Brian Koberger was there stalking them. Now, all it actually proves is that Brian Koberger's alibi is actually equaling out to what he said, that he himself would drive around late at night by himself, early morning hours. Remember, I told you guys, if Brian Koberger can prove that that's what he was doing, and he's always done that, he can't sleep at night. Like, there's a lot of people that do that. I hate to say it. You know how many parents out there that can't put their kids to sleep, that they put their kids in the car and they put them in their strap them up and they drive them around so they'll fall asleep so they could then take their kids out of the car and put them to bed because that's how they don't want to hear them screaming, crying. Well, any parent out there that y'all were doing that in that area, we're going to come looking for you for murder. The best part about it is that literally 12 times peeing on a cell tower. And that all got construed as, no, we have GPS of him doing that. Let me tell you guys something. If they would have GPS, that'd be in the PCA, honey. They're not going to put all their cards out there. Bill Thompson wouldn't still not be getting the discovery on over to Ann Taylor. He wouldn't need all the way to September to go out there and find something. Look through this stuff. Come on. You're losing me, my jury. You're losing me my case. No, Bill, you didn't have a case to start with. And so people can think like, oh my God, Lana's attacking the Gonzalez's. No, I'm not. I want to help them. I think that they've been lied to. I think whoever has told them the shit that they've been told has lied to them. So I think that they should strongly consider outing the people that gave them the information and telling them and the world what shitbags they are. That's what I would do. Because the Gonzalez's are wearing, or people that close to the family are wearing shirts that want to, like, I don't know, shoot up people. I just, whoa. And the Gonzalez's respect my approach with and who I am. I don't go running off with weird ass shit and talking about whack shit. No, I believe in innocent until proven guilty. Okay. And the truth is what's going to help every single one of the victims and their families. And to see the advocacy on the behalf of Brian Kohlberger and they believe in his innocence, they believe that means that he was set up. You guys understand that? So I just think that with that said, when you look back at everything, let's just take another look. And Bill Thompson said himself, nobody was following anybody on social media and nobody was stalking anybody. So why were you okay with with Officer Payne completely misleading the magistrate, the signing judge, whoever signed that? You know, to talk about that you went and got a search warrant and that the reasons that you went and got it, that's the most important part about that. They went and they wanted to aid in their efforts of trying to prove something that they could not prove, even after they got all that digital evidence. You understand that? You understand how hard it is to hide anything nowadays because of phones? There is nothing tying this man to anything except for a sheath at a crime scene that only has one source of touch DNA on the snap. And then they went about it when you're supposed to go and use IgG as a last resort. They use it as a first resort. If this isn't a case that everybody should be looking at from a innocent until proven guilty, this is that case. The hysteria that Moscow, Idaho, and the prosecutor have done in all of their search warrants saying we need to seal this because someone's going to die, because this could jeopardize someone's life, or all that crap that we were putting out there. And now the tables have turned so much that guess who's saying that now? Now the media is trying to say that it's Brian Kohlberger's defense team that's asking for stuff to be sealed because it endangers people. That's a boilerplate thing that you put. This is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. With that said, I believe that every single dollar that Scott Green got from his book goes to the families, split evenly 4 ways. If it goes into a trust so that grandkids could use it for college education, something that's in like the victims' names, so that could be used for any of those kids and future kids, that they will always be able to go to the University of Idaho for free for tuition. But for Scott Green to write a book that's a patting on the back, look what we did in a crisis and how do you handle it, you failed. You failed after I heard the Gonzalez's say that they never heard from you. So is that in your manifesto? And the only way that I'm not going to believe that is if you come out green and say that that's not true and provide me some fucking receipts with some phone records to prove that the days and timestamps that you talked to them and the timestamps behind it. But there's phone records that prove all this shit. There's phone records out there of when Christy would have got the call from her niece. Then we find out that Steve went to the hospital for the first time, you know, in that recent interview. That, may I add you, Chris McDonough is not too happy about my fair use. He's not too happy with, I guess, the laws of the United States of American citizens and the laws of our fair use and copyright infringement laws. But Scott McDonough wasn't too happy about my reaction video and my comments to that interview, which I actually thought were mild and appropriate, because you'll never see me ever up here talking shit about any of the families and how they want to do things. I will always question the facts of something, because you have to put the facts on a timeline, and then you have to insert your timeline with everything that's going on. And as long as what you're saying can be factually supported by digital evidence or whatever it may be, it's, you know, great. But I just know that Chris McDonough did not find the glove that he is taking credit for when he went on his tour. The glove was that he was there for has nothing to do with the investigation. The glove that Ann Taylor is referencing that has to do with this investigation was found on November 20th. Chris McDonough and his wife did not get there until the day after Thanksgiving or the day of Thanksgiving. Either way, yeah. But I just think it's hilarious that he just keeps on keeping on. That is not the glove, motherfucker. And he knows it. So, do people not realize that one case he was involved in California and interrogated that teenager for 10 hours? Of course, oh yeah. Oh, I'm going to talk all about that San Diego case now. I was going to keep that hush-hush. But let me just go ahead and expose what the fuck he did in San Diego. These inserters. Well, guess what? Anytime I put myself on a case, I can tell you that the results that I net and yield, I just let all that speak for itself. So, until next time, guys.
Here it has DOT tape on it, walking not towards the direction.
Jesus. That should waken you up. Take care until next time. Peace.